Hi, everyone. Welcome to Story with Hala 19. It's a pleasure to be with you this week. Let's start off by starting our week with a quote. Quote with Hala. The quote of this week is "Spread love everywhere you go." Author unknown. It's important that we spread love to everyone. You can do this by smiling at your neighbor or saying hi. For example, while they're walking your dog, or while you're on a drive, or while you're biking. It's nice to spread love, and a small action can make someone's day. So remember to spread love everywhere you go. So, as I promised, every week we're going to be doing a new craft, and the craft that we're doing this week is something that has to do with snowflakes. We're going to be making origami snowflakes, and these snowflakes, you can hang them as Christmas ornaments for your tree. You can hang them up on your windows to spread holiday cheer. You can put magnet stickers on the back and make them magnets. You can do so much with these origami snowflakes, or you could just make them with your family and have some fun with them. Before we start our craft, I'm going to be reading a story that has to do with snowflakes. It's called Snowflake Bentley, and I read it at school with my teacher, and I just love this story so much. So let's start with the story. Let me just say that this story is a PDF. It's not the story with the book because I don't have that. But now I'm going to be sharing the screen. So yeah. In the days when farmers worked with ox and sled and cut dark with lantern light, there lived a boy who loved snow more than anything else in the world. When Wilson Bentley was born February 9th, 1865, on a farm in Jericho, Vermont, between Lake Champlain and Mount Mansfield, in the heart of the snow belt, where the annual snowfall is about 120 inches. Willie Bentley's happiest days were snowstorm days. He watched snowflakes fall on his mittens, on the dried grass of Vermont fall fields, and on the dark metal handle of the barn door. He said snow was as beautiful as butterflies or apple blossoms. He could net butterflies and show them to his older brother, Charlie. He could pick up apple blossoms and take them to his mother, but he could not share snowflakes because he could not save them. Willie's mother was his teacher until he was 14 years old. He attended school for only a few years. She had a set of encyclopedias, Willie said. I read them all. When his mother gave him an old microscope, he used it to look at flowers, raindrops, and blades of grass. Best of all, he used it to look at snow. While other children built forts and pelted snowballs at roosting crows, Willie was catching single snowflakes. Day after stormy day, he studied the icy crystals. From his boyhood on, he studied all forms of moisture. He kept a record of the weather and did many experiments on raindrops. He learned that most crystals had 6 branches, though a few had 3. For each snowflake, the 6 branches were alike. I found that snowflakes were masterpieces of design, he said. No one design was ever repeated. When a snowflake melted, just that much beauty was gone, without leaving any record behind. Their intricate patterns were even more beautiful than he had imagined. He expected to find whole flakes that were the same, that were copies of each other. But he never did. Willie decided he must find a way to save snowflakes so others could see their wonderful designs. For 3 winters he tried drawing snow crystals. They always melted before he could finish. Starting at age 15, he drew 100 snow crystals each winter for 3 winters. When he was 16, Willie read of a camera with its own microscope. If I had this camera, I could photograph snowflakes, he told his mother. Willie's mother knew he would not be happy until he could share what he had seen. Fussing with snow is just foolishness, his father said. Still, he loved his son. When Willie was 17, his parents spent their savings and bought the camera. The camera made images on large glass negatives. Its microscope could magnify a tiny crystal from 64 to 3,600 times its actual size. It was taller than a newborn calf and cost as much as his father's herd of 10 cows. Willie was sure it was the best of all cameras. Willie's experiment. He used a very small lens opening, which let only a little light reach the negative, but he kept the lens open for several seconds, up to a minute and a half. Even so, his first pictures were failures, no better than shadows. Yet he would not quit. Mistake by mistake, snowflake by snowflake, Willie worked through every storm. Winter ended, the snow melted, and he had no good pictures. He waited for another season of snow. One day in the second winter, he tried a new experiment, and it worked. Willie had figured out how to photograph snowflakes. Now everyone can see the great beauty in a tiny crystal. He learned, too, that he could make the snow crystals show up more clearly by using a sharp knife to cut away all the dark parts of the negatives around the crystals. This etching meant extra hours of work for each photograph, but Willie didn't mind. But in those days, no one cared. Neighbors laughed at the idea of photographing snow. Snow in Vermont is as common as dirt, they said. We don't need pictures. Willie said the photographs would be a gift to this world. While other farmers sat by the fire or rode to town with horse and sleigh, Willie studied the snowstorms. He stood at the shed door and held out a black tray to catch the flakes. He learned that each snowflake begins as a speck, much too tiny to be seen. Little bits of molecules of water attach to the speck to form its branches. As the crystal grows, the branches come together and trap small quantities of air. Many things affect the way these crystal branches grow. A little more cold, a bit less wind, or a bit more moisture will mean different shaped branches. Willie said that was why, in all his pictures, he never found two snowflakes alike. When he found only jumbled, broken crystals, he brushed the tray clean with a turkey feather and held it out again. He waited hours for just the right crystal and didn't notice the cold. If the shed were warm, the snow would melt. If he breathed on the black tray, the snow would melt. If he twitched a muscle as he held the snow crystal on a long wooden pick, the snowflake would break. He had to work fast, or the snowflake would evaporate before he could slide it into place and take his picture. Some winters he was able to make only a few dozen good pictures. Some winters he made hundreds. The best snowstorm of his life occurred on Valentine's Day in 1928. He made over 100 photographs during the two-day storm. He called the storm a gift from King Winter. Willie's nieces and nephews lived on one side of the farmhouse that Willie shared with his brother Charlie. Willie often played the piano as they sang and shared stories and games with them. Willie so loved the beauty of nature. He took pictures in all seasons. In the summer, his nieces and nephews rubbed coat hangers with sticky pitch from spruce trees. Then Willie would use them to pick up spiderwebs jeweled with water drops and take their pictures. On fall nights, he would gently tie a grasshopper onto a flower so that he could find it in the morning and photograph the dew-covered insect. But his snow crystal pictures were always his favorites. He gave copies away or sold them for a few cents. He made special pictures as gifts for birthdays. He held evening slideshows on the lawns of his friends. Children and adults sat on the grass and watched while Willie projected his slides onto a sheet hung over a clothesline. Many collages and even today, those who want to learn about snow crystals begin with Wilson Bentley's book, Snow crystals. He wrote about snow and published his pictures in magazines. He gave speeches about snow to faraway scholars and neighborhood skywatchers. "You are doing a great work," said a professor from Wisconsin. The little farmer came to be known as the world's expert on snow, the Snowflake Man. But he never grew rich. He spent every penny on his pictures. Willie said that there were treasures in snow. "I can't afford to miss a single snowstorm," he told a friend. "I never know when I will find some wonderful prize." Other scientists raised money so that Willie could gather his best photographs in a book. When he was 66 years old, Willie's book, His Gift to the World, was published. Still, he was not ready to quit. By 1926, he had spent $15,000 on his work and received $4,000 from the sale of photographs and slides. Less than a month after turning the first page in his book, Willie walked 6 miles home in a blizzard to make more pictures. He became ill with pneumonia after that walk and died 2 weeks later. The plaque on the monument says Snowflake Bentley, Jericho's world-famous snowflake authority. For 50 years, Wilson A. Bentley, a simple farmer, developed his technique of microphotography to reveal to the world the grandeur and mystery of the snowflake, its universal hexagonal shape, and its infinite number of lovely designs. A monument was built for Willie in the center of the town. The girls and boys who had been his neighbors grew up and told their sons and daughters the story of the man who loved snow. 40 years after Wilson Bentley's death, children in his village worked to set up a museum in honor of the farmer scientist. And his book has taken the delicate snow crystals that once blew across Vermont past mountains over the earth. Neighbors and strangers have come to know the icy wonders that land on their own mittens, thanks to Snowflake Bentley. And that's the end of the story. I hope you all loved Snowflake Bentley as much as I did. I just love the story so much, and I hope you guys loved it as much as I did. Now, this story is actually a true story, and Snowflake Bentley's images are just so beautiful. You can find them by searching them up on Google, and I just find it so interesting. His story is just so interesting. So, without further ado, we're going to start on our snowflake craft. So, I have this template right here. I printed it out from www.firstpalette.com, and all you have to do is go on the website, www.firstpalette.com, and all you have to do is search that and snowflakes, and then you can pick the snowflake what you want, print it out, and there you have it. The template will look like this. There's a bunch of different snowflakes, but this one was my favorite and what I found the easiest. Let's start off by cutting a square, because in origami, first thing you have to do is cut a square, because that's the only way you use it. That's the only way you can make some origami. Just cut that now. That's right. Alright, so now that I had it cut, you can see that there's a bunch of lines over here. We're going to start off by, lighting's a bit bad, there you go. So, there's this line right here. We're just going to fold that line, and make sure you're folding the pictures on the outside so you know where to fold. And for this project, for most origami, you have to make sure that you're folding really crisp, or else it might end up not looking very good. So, especially for this one, you have to fold it very, very crisp and nice. So there we have it. Now we're just going to fold that one triangle in half, like this, right here, to make an even smaller triangle. Just like this. Oop, that's not very sharp and crisp. Okie dokie, there we go. So now we have a smaller pyramid right here. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna fold these onto the back, these two triangles over here, and you're just gonna leave this right here. You're gonna fold these back, just like that. And it should look like this. These will be out, but don't worry. You're also gonna need a pair of scissors. First thing you're gonna do with the scissors is you're gonna cut off those little flaps at the end. And now you're just left with this little triangle. Lighting is kind of bad. But as you can, well, you can't really see right now because the lighting's pretty bad, but there's a little print over here. And there's a white part. Oh, now you can see. There's a white part and a gray part. And here's the gray part. We're going to cut off the gray part and leave the rest of the white part. So there's like little different gray parts over here. You have to cut all that off. And I'm just going to do that now. If you're watching this live, you can just watch it again on Facebook or on YouTube. Facebook is Canar TV, and YouTube is also Canar TV. So you can go find it on YouTube and follow along step by step once you've printed the template. Also, I want to mention that these are free templates, so that's amazing. And it's also really fun to do this with your family or with your friends. I personally did this at school after we read the same book, Snowflake Bentley, and I had a lot of fun with it, and I'm excited to do it at home with my family. We're just going to cut that off. Okay, and now that I cut off the gray part, I'm left with the white part. Then all you have to do after you've cut off the gray part is just unfold your snowflake. Now this is like very fragile, so when you're unfolding it, it might seem like it's stuck together, but it's not. And whoop. Next, you're just gonna try to flatten it with your hand, and just gonna flatten it a bit more, make sure it's nice, and there you go. Now you have a little snowflake that you can put magnets on, magnet stickers on, or you can hang it up, or you can put a little string maybe on one of these holes and hang it up as a decoration, or glue it to your window. You can really do anything with these, or you could just keep it a collection of them in your notebook or something. I hope you enjoyed Story with Hala 19. We're almost at 20. I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to check out these crafts. Again, if you didn't catch the website name, it's www.firstpalette.com, no spaces, no capitals. And just, you're going to go on the website, you're going to pick the snowflake that you want. And then after that, you can do this with your family or with your friends and do whatever you want with this. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Story with Hala. I'll see you next week with a new story and a new craft to do.